Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Delusional by Design. Today, we're going to be redesigning Hinge AI at UX Woman. For those who haven't seen some of these videos, we do teardowns of, AI features currently, and we try to dream and design delusionally. So thinking big, not only thinking about, the more business-like, practical elements of AI features that we can design today, but also what can we do in the future and what might the long-term consequences of AI look like. To give you an introduction, my name is Samaya. I'm the founder at UX Woman. I have about 9 years of experience in UX across startups, consulting, and corporate. Most recently, I specialized in inclusive designs for brands like Disney Plus, Hulu, Marvel, ABC, FX, and more. And currently, I continue to focus on helping women, immigrants, people of color, and folks from the LGBTQ community break into tech and earn six-figure salaries. So what are we going to cover today in this session? We're going to talk about mindsets for rapid ideation, take a little bit of looks at, Hinge and what their AI features currently are and how we might ideate on that and delusionally design big. And then we're going to talk about atomic design and AI design systems and how those two are related. And then we're going to go right into FigJam and design Hinge. And it's just a starting point, really. Some mindsets to consider, we're here as a community so that you can share your ideas around UX topics, find like-minded individuals within our community. We have a Reddit group, a Slack group, a LinkedIn group, so feel free to join us at www.uxwoman.com. We're trying to, problem solve and get a taste of design and UX and UI and AI design. The purpose of this session obviously is not to start building solutions right away. Think of this as a starting point only and more of a rapid brainstorming ideation session. In fact, because we're designing delusionally big at times, we might have some really bad ideas or some really dumb ideas. And what we really need is to validate a lot of our ideas with UX interviews, stakeholder interviews, ideation sessions, qualitative and quantitative methods. We'd have to develop business models, understand monetization and marketing to really validate these features and ideas and turn them into a reality. And I hope that, coming away from this session, you find that, design is not about making things pretty like you would see in Dribbble or Behance, or right now the new trend is vibe coding. And just because it looks pretty doesn't mean that it has substance. In reality, 80 to 90% of design work is gathering context. So user interviews, stakeholder interviews, competitor analyses, information architecture exercises and methods, concepts, wireframing, workflows, process and journey maps, being in the concept stage and the wireframing stage for a long time before you put that final 10 to 20% on top of the substance, which is, style, color, typography, brand, and focus on one concept. So really, it's a lot of the behind the scenes work that really makes or breaks a product. And you can learn more about UX design in our 7-month UX design MBA at uxwoman.com. So definitely visit our website for more information. And remember what I was saying about 80 to 90% of design work being context. Think of it as the foundation of a painting, right? When we set up a painting, designers are artists in a sense. And when we set up a painting, we're really setting up the foundational layers. And those foundational layers add that depth and the shading and the substance that really turns an image into something high fidelity and something that has that extra flair. And that's something that looks hyper realistic, where the shadows and the lighting give it the depth that it needs. So really think about this foundation. And that's why we spend about, 80 to 90% of our time on the foundation rather than those final touches. Same thing, when you're thinking about a person, right? We are our foundation, which is our skeletal structure, our muscles, our organs, that makes up the bulk of who we are. And then finally you put the skin on top. And the skin is really important. It protects us. It's a big part of, protecting us from, outside bacteria and things like that. But again, the structure of who we are is what, helps us live our lives and be healthy individuals. So with that, let's get into some context about Hinge AI and how we can redesign it. So I don't know if you have watched Black Mirror's Hang the DJ episode. It is from a while back. I think it's from the first season. The new Black Mirror season just came out, so I've been really into it. But it's very dark, so I have to take it slow. The beauty about Hang the DJ, and the reason I'm bringing it up, is it's about online dating, and it takes us into a world of AI simulations and how AI simulations can help us find a match in the dating world, which now is becoming closer to reality, right? So Hang the DJ is one of my favorite Black Mirror episodes because it actually has a happy ending. It turns out that their simulations ended up being really accurate, and they were able to find a 98% match for anyone who went on their dating app. So that was a happy ending, which is very unlike Black Mirror to give us happiness. So it kind of filled me with hope that AI doesn't need to always lead to negative long-term consequences, but it can lead to positive outcomes for individuals. Of course, when you're watching Hang the DJ, you're watching it from, and this is a spoiler alert, you're watching it from the perspective of the simulation. So you're watching the simulations fail multiple times at dating and just be really confused in their dating simulations until they find their match or until they quote unquote break out of the system, which is giving away a little bit too much. But the show, even though it came out years ago, is surprisingly accurate about AI simulations. And we talk more about AI simulations in our 0 to 1 AI product design innovation course. Currently, simulations are at their very beginner baby stages, and Hang the DJ showcases a more evolved perspective on simulations and models, where AI agents can actually simulate humans or different human behaviors. And you can take multiple AI agents and then turn them into an entire simulation where they're simulating a population of, say, 100,000 individuals or an entire dating pool in this case. So just something to, start to get you thinking delusionally big about what the future of AI dating could look like. But let's, dial back down to reality first and talk about what are Hinge's features currently and why are they doing what they're doing with their AI features. So it's pretty obvious that the AI features right now in Hinge, Bumble, Tinder are not, really taking over the experience, and that's intentional. So you could say that Hinge's AI features are pretty basic at this stage, and they are continuing to stay true to letting daters do the bulk of the chatting and flirting and planning online. So when we're looking at, Hinge AI's features, we're looking at AI generated recommendations when writing profile prompts, and Hinge's top picture feature also analyzes profile photos that are uploaded to prioritize the best picture at the top of the user's profile, giving them their quote unquote best shot at attracting the right dating partners. So Hinge's AI features and other dating AI might lag behind in the background for now, but that is actually intentional. It's strategic, and it's there to keep folks safe, right? Safety is a huge problem in the dating world, and dating apps today are doing more than ever to verify user identities to prevent frauds or catfishing. So, the reality is that yes, we can feature our best feature, but the more we're coming up with AI touch-ups for photographs and AI enhancements, it's going to become easier to create these fraudulent profiles and, be catfished online. And so Hinge is doing a lot with, AI verification of yourself too, right? You have to take a selfie and you have to, verify that you are who you say you are and that you match your pictures. And that adds a layer of protection for folks who are browsing your profile. And if they see that you're verified, they're more likely to want to meet up and chat. So AI for now is in the background to let the real people do the dating, unlike the Black Mirror episode where AI was essentially doing the dating for everyone. And we're sort of getting into that world with AI, right? We're seeing a lot of headlines in the job market saying how AI is being used by employers to sift through all these different applications. So, it's been a reality for a while that, our applications aren't really being looked at, right? Um, and so it's something to think about. Sorry, I paused there. Something to think about is that in the job search market, it's becoming more and more clear that it's just different AIs talking to each other. So employers have for a long time now, been using automated systems to scan applications, but now employees are using AI to submit applications. And so it's just two different AIs communicating with each other rather than the people doing the communication. And this is something known as AI mediated communication. It's going to become more common in the future. And if done well, it can succeed, like Hang the DJ, where essentially the simulations are dating each other and then the people finally meet up only if it's a 98% match. So that, reduces a lot of the time in dating. But again, you could argue that then, we're not gathering learning experiences from dating if we're just set up with our quote unquote best match. So there's, two sides to it, whether AI mediated communication is actually helpful or not. At Hang the DJ really showcases what AI mediated communication would look like in a futuristic dating world. So of course, that's kind of where we're headed long term in like the next 10 years or 5 years even. But right now, let's kind of dial back and think about online dating as it is today and some of the long-term consequences of even online dating being around for the last 10 years, right? And more of that like swipe heavy situations or scenarios we've been placed in for, let's say, the last 10 years. So even the current dating apps have taken long-term consequences and taken a toll on all of us. So it's harder to meet people in person or real life. Dating online right now promotes quick choices and moving fast, creating this sort of toxic hookup culture that permeates more modern dating today. And that was part of the commentary in Hang the DJ. And so even, these apps like Tinder and Hinge might even also have reduced our ability to communicate well or communicate in long-term friendships and relationships and partnerships because all this messaging and texting makes it easy to be unintentional about how and what we want to communicate, leading to long text strings that go nowhere ultimately. And, the dating scene today, in part because of the designs of dating apps today, has led a lot of users to believe that they have a lot of choices when in reality they don't. And dating apps keep daters playing and entertained with this constant swiping. And so it's nice to see apps like Hinge become a little bit more intentional and set limits on swiping and focus on pushing towards intentional conversation and really focused conversation. And there's still so much more opportunities to expand and enhance connections and meaningful connections as opposed to this fast game-like dating state that both Hang the DJ and current dating apps have sort of created unintentionally. And there's all this opportunity to expand to additional dating spaces, right? So there could be experiences that make dating more LGBTQ friendly, more polyamory friendly, more friendly for senior citizens to be dating online as well. Actually, studies show that folks in their retirement age, so 65 plus, actually are more tech savvy right now. And they are really, really tech savvy at managing their finances. They are a very affluent community. They have a lot of savings in retirement. And they should also have more opportunities online rather than most apps being, designed for folks between their, 20s to 40s, which is what's the norm now. But, as we live in a more modern, technologically driven world, our senior citizens and our retirees are also becoming more technically savvy and technologically savvy. And then you're seeing folks ditch dating apps for apps like Time Left, which focuses on group dinners and, dinner dynamics and more dating and finding people in a friendly manner, like a meetup, rather than one-on-one focused dating. So these are more interesting options that are coming out because I think people are tired of the gamification on dating apps and just being stuck on texting people and swiping on people rather than actually just meeting up to figure things out. So how might we improve the long-term consequences of online dating with a way that we design AI features intentionally? And let's talk a little bit about AI design systems. And really, when we design for AI, we have to design for uncertainty because as designers, as engineers, we ourselves might not know what AI is going to put out, right? We don't know how AI comes up with the outputs that it does. AI is essentially a black box. We give it inputs, it creates outputs based on what we input and what our prompts are. And so sometimes even at these larger, companies with, very sophisticated AI models, there's something called AI chaining as well, where multiple AI features are chained together or products are chained together to create a more complex output, which is how a lot of, these models like ChatGPT and Gemini work. And so because of all these AIs being chained together, it's really hard to tell, for the engineers to tell you how AI comes up with the output that it does. So we're really designing for a lot of uncertainty moving forward in the future, which really means going back to atomic design as well, right? So when I say AI relies on inputs and provides outputs, if the user input is incorrect, AI cannot deliver a really good output. So what ends up happening is one element of an AI design system is that AI design systems right now are designed to help users input the right information and help verify that information. So you're seeing how that works even with Google, right? When you start to type in something into Google, you'll see how Google is sort of narrowing down all the options based on what you're saying. And finally, with the highest percentage of certainty, realizing that you're asking for one specific thing. And you're watching the algorithm figure out, first it's maybe 50% certain about what you want. And then as you keep typing, it becomes almost 100% certain about what you want. But AI is also very certain. And if AI is very certain that you need like a certain thing, it will provide one option that you can either accept or reject to help you work through things faster. So this is an element in AI as well. If AI is very uncertain, it's better for AI to provide you with multiple options that you can choose from. But if AI is very certain, it will just provide you with one option. We see this with Google Maps, where Google analyzes your, route as you're driving, and if it determines through the AI that there's a faster or better route available, it will let you accept or reject that new route. And it doesn't want to overwhelm you with choices because you're driving and you shouldn't be taking your eyes off the road. So Google prompts you with just one option only when they're very certain that there's a better route available for you. So that's one area of the design system where it is good to, give you one option as opposed to multiple options. However, with AI, really, not being certain about our needs all the time, especially if we have more complex needs, right? Like preferences in terms of mood. What do we want to watch? What do we want to listen to? Then ideally they should provide us multiple options that we can select from. So this is how content prioritization works on apps like Netflix and Spotify. And we've done teardowns of Netflix's and Spotify's AI features as well. But that's where they're really giving you a gallery of different content and they're prioritizing the gallery based on AI and you get to choose because they're not 100% certain on what you want to watch. So with that, that's kind of an introduction to AI design systems. Let's go ahead and design Hinge and consider delusionally big designs for long-term consequences or Hinge or dating 10 years from now versus what we can do kind of today to really change the dating world. Right, let me just quickly share the FigJam so that you can see what I'm going to do. Give me 1 second. And then you'll get right into it. All right. So here is my screen. As you see, I'm in wireframe land, so I'm really trying to create very simplistic designs, more that structure that we talked about, the skeleton, rather than trying to create something beautiful and high fidelity. So let's start with something more basic. Right now, Hinge and other dating apps are focusing on more intentional connections. So we can come up with two concepts that are more about getting people to connect more meaningfully and potentially in real life. And then we can consider the era of AI mediated communication, where all of us 10 years from now might be so busy that our AIs just communicate for us, whether it's at work or dating, and we only meet up when, quote unquote, there's a 98% match, like Hang the DJ. So let's try both more realistic short-term ideas and then some long-term, maybe delusional ideas. So let's think about how we might make dating more intentional today. I think it's good that Hinge has set limits on like how much you can swipe. So maybe, but it also kind of gets very tiring to try to keep continuing the conversation when really, it might be good to just kind of push people into meeting up and seeing how things go. So maybe after a certain amount of time chatting, maybe there could be an AI scheduler feature where you upload your calendar and AI selects a date as you're chatting and some date ideas to actually meet in person. So let's see how that would work. And it might be a little bit creepy for AI to be sort of sitting in on your conversation, but it's already doing that. And we're already getting more and more comfortable with AI, quote unquote, listening in. I don't think any of us believe we have privacy anymore. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you believe you still have privacy, great. I mean, there are apps like Signal, but I think it's safe to assume, that AI is tracking what you're saying, especially because I notice, when sexual content or suggestive content is put into the chat, AI does flag that and will say something like, "Are you sure you want to send that?" So I think it's interesting that they're already doing it. And let's put the text box here. So this is just the texting area. And I'm just recreating the text. And I'm kind of trying to create it more like time left. So the blue is one person, and then the orange is the second person. And these are their text boxes. I'll make this blue so that we can see. And I'll make this, gray so that we know it's the text box where you can input information. So maybe they're chatting for a bit, and then maybe AI comes in as a mediator, which is green, and suggests a bunch of times, right, that they can meet, because both people in the onboarding might have inputted their calendar, and then AI suggests certain things. I'll make this bigger. And maybe it even has call to actions, like select the time and that works best for you. So AI does all the scheduling rather than the people having to do the back and forth. And so let's say AI gives us a range of options that work within both these people's calendars. And then selections are made. And then based on that, it's easier to set up a time and place to meet. So I think this could be a really intentional way of minimizing AI in the actual conversation, but really having AI be more of the helper to get people to meet up or communicate. And then AI could potentially suggest locations as well, since Hinge and other dating profiles already know our location. So this could be sort of I'm going to write it in a sticky note, time and dating location option finder element, right, for AI. So I think that's one way that, Hinge and all these other dating apps can stay true to letting the folks do the dating or the people do the dating while the AI is more of the helper in the background, which is how it should be. What's another idea where we can continue to prioritize people connecting? So I had mentioned that, there's this potential to tap into multiple new markets. And so I think maybe in their onboarding, having that option. And so depending on the age range that you select, depending on, whether you're monogamous or non-monogamous, you would be reflected or added to certain communities. And maybe there's an option to explore those communities if you're not a part of that community, but would like to consider it, right? So maybe it could be also community-based learning and dating, which might look different. So maybe there's profiles that are community-based. Maybe while you're swiping, here's a community for polyamory and learning something about polyamory, or there's a community around amory community. Maybe there's a swingers community profile that you can swipe on. So rather than swiping on one person, you're swiping into a community or a pool of dating folks that you will start to match with. There might be a senior citizens community. There might be a kink and BDSM community. And there might be more specifics or subtopics within those communities as well. So let's say that you were really into rope or shibari, then that could be a special community, sub-community. So it's almost kind of like a Reddit, but maybe the pool of applicants that you start to see changes depending on what your interests might be. So that could be one way to kind of explore beyond the superficial. I think if Hinge wants to explore beyond just looks and just what, a couple of profile pictures looks like, this could be a great way to start opening up your dating pool and trying to be less about, the gaming elements. But on the flip side, thinking back to Hang the DJ, what would that long-term AI mediated communication look like, where it might be a scenario like Hang the DJ, and it's just two people's AIs talking to each other and simulating dating until a good match is found or a 98% certain match is found. And doesn't need to be 98% certain, right? That means dating might become really boring for actual people, right? Rather than meeting, let's think through the consequences of that. Rather than meeting 20 different people and realizing that, hey, you actually are only really finding connections with maybe 2 or 3 of those 20 people. Rather than going through that whole learning process, AI is doing it for you. And so you end up meeting with only 3 people. So for some people, that might be amazing. That might be like, oh yeah, now I just don't have to waste my time, quote unquote, dating. But then you might not be learning more about yourself, what you like, what you dislike. And it's really your AI simulation or your AI bot that is doing all that learning for you. So what might the long-term consequences of that be? That, maybe even if you do match with someone who is the most compatible for you in your city, that 98% match, maybe you don't have the social skills or the psychological skills to actually handle that kind of match. And even if you do meet the quote unquote 98% right person, which I don't think exists, you might just not be as evolved as a person to take advantage of that situation or really, bring your full self to that dating experience. So I wonder, what if instead AI focused more on self-development rather than this AI mediated communication route? So how are you, like, maybe instead of like those, and maybe this is building off of like connecting people, but how are you connecting with yourself? So those prompts, maybe there's like a AI chat helper that can help you navigate the dating world and almost, I don't want to say play the role of your therapist, but maybe play the role of your coach, like your dating coach. So maybe if these apps had, let's say AI is green and you're talking to AI about your dating experiences, and AI might be giving you tips on, well, did you handle that situation well? Or how could you have handled a situation better? Or how could you have communicated better to a person that you're dating, right? So maybe AI gives you tips on communication. And here I'll write the concept. And this is just a chat personally between you and AI, similar to how we talk to ChatGPT, AI chatbot in app to give dating, communication, self-actualization, tips, advice, ask questions. And I think that might be more helpful than this AI doing the dating for you. So that's where I have landed so far, and my attempt at trying to redesign Hinge in AI in 15 minutes, thinking more realistically, but also delusionally big. Hope you have fun redesigning some of Hinge's AI features, and hope to see you in a future session.